Welcome to The Lost Signals Discusses Film and TV. Using the revolutionary Manzar-Ramosi-Thurlow scale,
or MONS,
we scrupulously review these art forms with an emphasis on narrative structure. Join us for another entertaining episode.
Hello, and welcome back to the Lost Signals Reviews, Film and TV. My name is Chris Morgan. I'm here with Jonathan Ian Manzar.
Yes, I'm here.
Stephen Ramosi.
I have also showed up.
And Scott Thurlow.
And we are somewhat less than champions.
Yes. Well, tonight we are reviewing Academy Award nominee, but really should have been movie on Netflix because it didn't make it into the theater, Bohemian Rhapsody. And Steve-O, would you like to provide us with the funny logline?
Yeah, Bohemian Rhapsody, more like Bohemian Knapsody.
Hey, Nani. Hey, Nani. Yes.
So, Steve-O...
We didn't like it.
With that.
So, Steve-O.
Yes.
Since we are talking to you right now, why don't you continue with the plot?
Sure. This is Freddie Mercury's life. He's Freddie Mercury. He's nobody. He's Freddie Mercury. He's famous. He's Freddie Mercury. He's about to fucking die. Okay? Thanks, Freddie.
Nice reference.
Yeah, I mean, this is just a bunch of scenes somewhat connected by the fact that they all have the character of Freddie Mercury in them. I'm not sure how true this is to life. I think a lot of it is fabricated, and it felt like what Bryan Singer wanted, or whoever wrote this wanted Freddie Mercury's life to be like. He like gets married. I mean, the things that are real. He gets married. Queen gets big. Turns out that he likes to have sex with men, which is a big thing for his wife. Surprisingly, she doesn't like that. I guess they get divorced. They live in different houses.
The time jumps in this movie
I don't think they get married. I think she's always the fiance, and they
Okay, all right.
break off their engagement.
In the meantime,
I guess.
In the meantime,
I'm postulating.
Queen is getting. Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't recall if they ever actually got married or not. He did give her a very nice ring. Anyway, Queen is getting big, and they have like slight fights throughout. But I never really saw like animosity enough to like break up the band. You know, like that. Everything about this movie felt like the edge was taken off of it. I think.
Well said.
And
I agree.
I think that is the biggest strike against it. It's like this really washed out version of what happened.
It's very calculated.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be stronger than that and say that Bryan Singer is wanking off the memory of Freddie Mercury through this, which has unfortunate implications considering what he's being accused of.
For sure,
Yeah.
but I don't begrudge that sentiment. Yeah.
It does feel like there's this... It never feels like the real story of Queen. It feels like a Lifetime original movie.
Or VH1 bullshit kind of thing, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, but VH1 would have at least had a little bit of drama involved here.
Yeah.
This is...
I know what you're saying.
Everyone's getting along, and like... Yeah, there's a couple of road bumps, but really, and I apologize, but this is what I felt like. If it wasn't for the gays, Queen would have been going on for so much longer, and even if he stayed with his fiancée and they would have got married, and everything would have been great. And that is, to me, kind of the sentiment behind this film, and that's going into themes, I know, but I was very upset watching this. I was very angry watching this because it had no teeth, it had no insight to provide over anything aside from we're gonna play the greatest hits of Queen and insert a few very neutered looks at Freddie Mercury's life in between.
That should have been a logline too. Like
I agree.
The greatest hits, right? So like I agree. And as you mentioned, like as we like voted sort of just precast about the logline, yeah, the biggest mark against this movie to me is it's so fucking boring. Like I was literally like looking off in the distance and shit like while we were watching this movie. Like it was hard to keep paying attention to it because it was so goddamn bland. And if we're looking at plot scores, like yeah, as you mentioned as well, it's paint by numbers kind of thing, like Lifetime kind of shit. Yeah, and that does not make it good. Like that is not something you want to compare a movie of this like a sensible quote unquote caliber to, especially that's apparently it's an Oscar movie. So all I'm saying is all that shit is why I'm giving it a 1 to
This
plot.
is a Golden Globe best
Yeah,
drama.
okay, fine, whatever.
winning.
Like, great.
You mean
But it
Golden
shouldn't
Globe?
be.
Like, isn't that like 9 people on the whole Golden
I don't
Globe
know.
committee?
It doesn't fucking matter.
Can I say?
Like,
There should be no one on that committee. They should all been fired for choosing this goddamn movie. I'm sorry, this is the most upset I've been at a film in a very long
Yeah.
time.
see, like
This
the funny
is-
thing is like,
This is a trash pick.
sorry, you guys are like actively like feeling and sort of antagonized by this movie, which you might say humorously when we get to that question. But I was just like, again, looking around like, God, waiting for it to be over. Like we all predicted exactly what was going to happen, and it
Yep.
happened.
Mhm.
So that's to me why I have to give it a 1. It's just the most rote thing ever in the world, and I was completely unimpressed by it. So
You know what's really funny is I was talking to our studio audience member who's off camera now, and I was originally going to give this a 2 because I enjoyed the music part of it,
Shouldn't.
and then I realized me being interested in stuff that's going on in the studio and being like, oh, how many Vox amps and blah, what kind of blah.
doesn't make it a
That's
good
not
narrative.
plot. That's not
Exactly,
plot.
man.
That's my interest in music. So this is getting a 1.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna give it a 1 as well. I am far more interested in the Elton John movie that's about to come out. I think
Sure.
it's called Rocket Man.
sure, of course.
That looks,
Why wouldn't it be?
That looks interesting. But anyway, in terms of this, I'm very glad we're done watching it, and I think this conversation that we're about to have will be more interesting. So I think was that 1s all around for plot?
I'm almost.
Getting rid of it a 0.
I know
maybe,
I'm
but-
almost at a 0 for this. I'm actually legitimately considering it. The problem is that there is structure there.
Right. There's the
Yeah.
most bare bone structure ever in the world.
You
like I
had
said.
brought up before the thing that we just reviewed prop,
Mhm.
and where they're going through like here's how folktales are constructed. Somewhere along the line, there is a hack screenwriters have
Exactly.
a formula that they follow to produce
Yep.
a movie, and this is what.
And here it
But
is.
this wasn't even well done.
No.
Hacks formulaic, but it's just enough of a structure to warrant an acknowledgement
Right.
that it is a movie.
Right. My final thought is because it's the most cookie cutter structure plot element for this the nature of the story and the rise and fall of a superstar, like, of a famous rock person. Right. It follows that, sure, but that is the most basic possible thing you could ever have in terms of plot.
Yeah.
Is my argument. So
Right, and this is something I was saying before, is when you have a film like this and you compress the timeline, you compress when Freddie Mercury got AIDS, when he found out about AIDS, which is a really fucking cynical thing to do if you think about it. They wanted to frame it around Live Aid, but they also wanted to tell the story of Freddie Mercury getting AIDS.
Right.
And so, but
spreads
it's
itself too
such a
thin.
complete artifice. It's not like, okay, like as I said before, you know, Amadeus is one of my favorite movies, and that is very fictionalized. But Amadeus lived a few hundred years ago. I'm really bad at history. Well, hold it. But this one is easily researchable. You know, what I'm saying is
the fact should be there.
yeah, the
sure.
facts should be there. So right off the bat, without much research, you can just see what a cynical cash grab. You know, this thing was as much as any Steven Spielberg film, like The Post or anything like that, is constructed to be an award winner. This is constructed to be an award winner.
But was it even that? And also,
No, it's
what I would say-
constructed.
Yes, it did. It won the award
Yes.
for
that
being
doesn't mean it was
constructed.
constructed well to be that.
Yeah.
It means that
No, well-
some idiot fucking chose it. But what I would say is that it doesn't. I don't know about you guys, but it doesn't even matter to me if they got the facts completely right, as long as they are not being dishonest about it in their filmmaking. Right? You can fictionalize things and
Sure.
like, stylize them.
And compress characters, yeah, but you can't. But something like when somebody was diagnosed with a fatal illness, you having it 2 years or whatever, a year before Live Aid, like have it in 1984, which is like several years before. Was that 87? He was diagnosed.
I believe so.
Yeah, I mean that's awful.
Here's the thing is, and the segue into the next segment, is that if they had something, if they played around with the truth to make a greater point,
Right.
I'll
That would've been
forgive them.
acceptable. Yeah.
But there's nothing here.
Yeah.
There's.
I think
this is vacuous.
I think that's the best way we can cap off the plot. I
It's
agree.
vacuous.
And like, so again, you're going to be a 0 or 1 at the end of the day.
Bohemian Rhapsody, it's vacuous.
Because I think like you have to give it a 1 just because
I'm giving it a 1 because it
here's
is
to the
a
basic structure.
film.
Yeah.
I mean, there's films that I would give a 0 to.
I'm just saying like
and you could technically call them films.
all I'm
but
saying is like
this one has enough
it wasn't
there, I think, to give
incoherent.
a
It
one.
was just poorly done. So
It was
it
so.
gets only a 1.
lucky it's getting this
Yeah.
1 here.
Exactly.
Yeah, you hear that? Bohemian Rhapsody, the movie? Thank Ian for your 1.
Yeah.
All right.
You were a movie and you were constructed. Got it.
All right. So
You
let's,
got the bare minimum to get
Exactly.
a 1
let's move on to themes. We're all going to give it a 1. Let's move on to themes.
with Scott.
And that is. Oh, I'm sorry. Why am I doing this? I'm not the host.
You're
I apologize.
That's okay. Being bossy.
You round
Scott,
us up.
give us. Give us what themes.
I'll try to give you some themes. So like, it seriously, it ties into what you just said. On the surface, you think they're trying to say something, but it quickly becomes evident that they're saying nothing, or they're mishandling whatever message they're trying to convey into it. Right? So, like you said, Chris, it's a condensed timeline. It plays fast and loose with some of the facts, so it seems like. So we've uncovered it.
Right.
So that means like they have to sort of gloss over a lot of this shit. And like, to me, again, I've said this before in like a couple of other recent reviews where like when you flash me an obvious, here's obvious theme is obvious, flash in flashing lights, like theme here, hotel, whatever, right? I just like that's mishandling to me. Like that means you don't know how to write the script, you don't know how to convey the theme that you're trying to going for within the story, within the framework of this, a real person who existed, and this is ostensibly like more or less the story of his band and himself. But it just was grating, and again, like one-dimensional, and that dimension itself fell flat to me. So, like on paper, like they might have a noble goal, a noble intention to encapsulate some of the themes that were mentioned, or a couple of things we just mentioned in plot, but I don't think they got there at all. So that's my argument for a 0. Like, I don't know what else to say about it. That was my reaction to it. So.
I told you I thought the theme of the film was cynical cash grab. So
maybe that's true,
no,
but I'm
you
not
said-
giving that a 1.
I know I'm not either.
Do you guys remember the South Park episode with Jared from Subway? They're asking him how he lost so much weight. He said because of AIDS, and he was referring to the support staff around him. Everyone thinks he was talking about. Well, oddly enough, they have the villains here, both the AIDS virus, which eventually killed Freddie Mercury, but also his support staff around him is actual AIDS as well. So I guess AIDS are bad on all angles. So like,
Is that the message you thought the film was imparting? Like that's what
no. I actually felt that I mentioned this earlier. There was slightly an anti-gay vibe throughout this.
See, I didn't get that. To be fair, I just thought like whatever they're trying to go for, because of like the bland nature of it, and because they weren't trying to do anything different or like change up the formula in any way, shape, or form, then that means any themes that were like ostensibly supposed to be contained also fell flat.
It's weird. It's more like the fight for a nuclear family, even if it is because when he meets Jim Hutton at the end, and they finally get together, and like, oh, now he has a stable relationship, but really it's all that partying and that kind of lifestyle, that rock and roll lifestyle, which is really the villain here.
The Bohemian lifestyle
Yeah.
is the
yes,
the
man,
villain.
but like it wasn't enough
There's
to
no
me.
Rhapsody there.
Like that could have been true if it was more well integrated and well handled. Is all I'm saying.
No, I'm kind of grasping at straws here,
Yeah.
and I was more offended by a lot of this film than anything. So I'm going to give it a 0. And most of the stuff in this, I'm going to give it a 0. To be honest.
The biggest problem, excuse me, with this is they were trying to say something. It obviously had an agenda it failed at, but what it should have been was a celebration of Freddie Mercury, a celebration of life. Because when you see them, how you come up with the songs, when you see them play, you hear the songs, you get excited about it. But all right, it's going to go to style. I'll save my Madison Square Garden review for style.
Sure.
But when it comes to the subject, the band, you have talented actors here. I mean, you had everything you needed not to screw this thing up, except for a script and director. And but the thing is, this film should not have been this. It should have been a celebration. It should have been It should have been, I want to say exciting and fun because it's going to have its rocky road, but this was just a failure on all accounts.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't an honest depiction of. It didn't feel like an honest depiction of the man's life,
And that reflects.
and that you can't celebrate by being dishonest.
I think that's exactly
Right.
that's the point of it, and why it fails on its themes, because they come from a place of dishonesty in terms of storytelling,
Or at least
and-
misintent.
and
we'll
that
say,
means that all the themes are going to fail. And to your point, Ian, about being anti-gay, I don't think it's.
I'm not saying it's over.
I don't think it's overtly anti-gay, but like you're right. Like in terms of its portrayal of like this, I'm gonna say it again. I guess bohemian lifestyle that he was living, like the partying all the time and like all this stuff. It was like, oh, well, that's why he fucking his life fell apart, and perhaps there can be a point there somewhere. But the way that this movie goes about it is just shitty, for lack of a better term, and I don't think that it hits any of those points.
It's poorly executed, and yeah.
I feel it's subtly.
Sorry, and Chris, to your point of, I know you were dashed it off as a joke, but lack of director and writer. I don't know any of the writers of this. There's like writing by committee, but fucking Bryan Singer, for all of his many shitty fucking faults and qualities, directed The Usual Suspects. He has no fucking excuse to make a movie like this.
He also directed Days of Future Past, which I think is a great movie.
Yeah. Well,
All right. Let's not get
let's
bogged
not get
down.
into the fucking X-Men movies.
But
No. But what I'm saying is, if you look at something like Usual Suspects, and if you look at something like Days of Future Past, which is an X-Men movie, things were done. You could take things away from both of those films that say, hey, here's somebody who knows what they're doing. Here's an actual vision. This thing had no vision.
And whatever vision was there was completely lost and muddled, so that's
Yeah.
my argument for 0.
Anyway, 0 for themes.
Yeah.
We went
Okay.
a little
It
far
did not.
afield on that, but-
It did not achieve what it wanted to achieve.
We went into an indictment of Bryan Singer, which he might be getting indicted. So
Yeah.
let him.
Sure.
So it's to me with antagonist. All right. The guy with the other guy with the Irish guy with the mustache. There's a lot of mustaches in this film. He was supposed to be the antagonist,
Was he though? Like, go on.
no,
but-
hold on a second. He was. I'm telling you from the point of view of whatever committee wrote this thing. He was supposed to be the antagonist. He basically was the one who hid things. He was the one who would start leaking information to kind of break him off from the first manager to cause trouble with the band. But as with all things, he was supposed to be the antagonist. And as with all things in this film, it was so obvious and by the numbers. He walked on and it's like, oh, hi, my name is so-and-so. I'll be your antagonist for the film. And, to the bohemian lifestyle, to the rock and roll lifestyle, it's just like that's part and parcel with any film like this. I mean, seriously, be it in different shades, be it from like Amadeus to Sid and Nancy or to, Purple Rain. That's part and parcel to this. So you have to come up with something unique, some direction. You have to have a vision for it. And as I said before, there was none, honestly, and everything was really fucking transparent. I mean, any of the movies I just named, I mean, you want to see a fucked up thing where people get fucked up in the bohemian lifestyle, their rock and roll lifestyle. See Sid and Nancy, you'll never want to see it again, but it's a great movie. This had, and I know that was fictionalized too, and there's a lot of whatever, but my whole point is there was nothing. I'm giving this a 0 because what they wanted us to be the antagonist. Oh, and AIDS. That was the other point I was trying to get to. If they wanted by distorting the timeline about AIDS, does a disservice to anybody in that time frame that was who had AIDS. I mean, it's very, very cynical. I'm getting angry, man. I'm getting angrier the more we discuss this.
Yes.
I mean, it is really kind of crass to say, "Hi, we're compressing the timeline so we can frame it around Live Aid, and so we're going to move his AIDS." This is getting a fucking 0 because everything they wanted to be an antagonist was either obvious or tacky.
they don't care about the people who suffered from AIDS. They didn't care about the people who suffered from the Ethiopian crisis, famine that was going on, because they're all props for.
They're just window dressing. Yeah.
No, it's just like these are elements of his life. And here's the thing: so you were talking about the idea of the Bohemian lifestyle, as we're calling it, because you said earlier it's a celebration of Freddie Mercury's life.
No, it should be.
It should be, but that was the intent behind it, even though it failed at that. The problem is it's more so than usual. I find in these things that I felt it was very judgmental of that lifestyle. It blamed it for the death of Freddie Mercury, while alleviating all of the fault from Freddie Mercury himself. And
that's a good point. Yeah.
And yeah, you're. But that's the thing. Is that the antagonist was here for a third of the film, or something like that.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah, it was like it was. There was not much conflict for Freddie Mercury throughout this piece. Freddie Mercury became the Mary Sue, perfect kind of figure in this. That everything he did was impish and fun and brilliant,
for everybody.
Everyone loved him. Even the conflicts within the band weren't really. There's family fights, and it felt again disingenuous. So I'm going to give it a 0.
Well, I mean, I didn't like Chris. You were saying like I didn't even feel that guy was the antagonist. So like, it was even less to that. In like, while I was watching it in my mind, like that, it didn't even get to that degree. So because of that, there was like, yeah, like you said, the surface thing wants you to sort of like think that, but it wasn't effective enough by any means to me. So even like whatever like little degrees it got there did not work, fell flat, like didn't make sense to me. It wasn't enough. The condensing thing was a problem for sure, right? So that muddied everything that they're trying to do. And I can't even say to you what the fuck the antagonistic force in this movie even was.
I'll tell you right now. And here's my argument for why they wanted that Irish mustache to be the antagonist.
Irish mustache
is because the ending scene where he found out that he had kept Live Aid from him, where he's got his back to him in the rain, and he's basically telling him to get out. Blah 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 blah.
Yeah, okay.
They milked that scene. That apparently, I guess they expected that to be an emotional scene. That we cared about him, or we felt that Freddie Mercury cared about him. But see, that's
the problem. They never established that either one of them gave a shit about each other.
Exactly.
And that's what you have to do to have
right. You guys are both right.
Scene.
You guys are all right. Good call. And like, yeah, that's sort of all my evidence in addition to what I just said to give it a 0 because it was lacking. To a very big degree.
There was never a tender scene between them, so that guy could never actually like. I don't know why he was in charge of Freddie Mercury.
He was an asshole from the word go.
Kind of, but it doesn't even matter.
He didn't even have to be an asshole. Yeah. He was just like unimportant.
Exactly.
He tries to like make a move on Freddie Mercury towards the beginning of the movie, and Freddie's like, we're working together. And then there's never like a tender moment between them. There's never like a reversal of that.
Yeah, it just sort of jump cuts it, and like the movie's like, hey, now they're lovers. And you're like, what? When?
I don't even think they were. Were they lovers? I don't know.
But
again, it would have you believe that. It wants you to think that. But because it's so poorly like transitioned to.
But this guy wasn't even like feeding Freddie Mercury drugs, as far as I know, because like one of the things in Sid Nancy is Malcolm was giving.
Sure.
Feeding.
Right.
No, but the whole point is, I didn't see why everybody's hanging out with why this asshole's in this film at all. I don't understand because obviously there's no relationship.
Well, apparently, like maybe it's like again based on a true story, but
they never told. This film never answered.
Yeah,
which is what we're
tell that story.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, and I think that's all evidence to give it a fucking 0 here.
Yeah, the 0's 0 0 0 0.
Yeah.
Mr. Manser, Professor Manser, you with protagonist.
Please. All right. So I got the one I'm probably going to give a 1 to. I mean, I don't know much about Freddie Mercury. And I found out a lot about him in this. Well, not a lot of things that I didn't know he was Zoroastrian. That's kind of neat, I suppose. I don't know how well the performance by Rami Malek. It seems like he did a good job.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give him credit for that. But I would like to have seen this in a better film.
Yeah.
Because I think
I see what you mean. Yeah.
Although I got a big Mick Jagger vibe off of his performance as well.
I think it was just his face. The way they made his face look.
And the
Yeah,
hair,
his fake teeth,
and
yeah.
he's kind of prancing about. Felt again. I haven't seen much of a film of Freddie Mercury in person, so I'm gonna give it a 1. I'm gonna give it the benefit of the doubt that Rami put in the effort to be like Freddie Mercury.
Yeah.
I guess I'll largely agree. So I like him as an actor, broadly in general, and so maybe like any points I might take away from him in the protagonist spot, I'm gonna blame on the script itself and not necessarily his performance. I guess I'll say, right. So like, I certainly think he was pretty damn solid portraying Freddie Mercury, even if we don't know all the details. Like we're only like given the face facts that the film presents to us. So within that framework, yes, I think he did a pretty good job. And you're right, like it's easier to give him a 1 in this spot than probably many other things. So I was almost wavering on it. I was considering giving him a 0, not because he was bad, but because of the script. So I guess I can't blame him for like having to work with a mediocre to subpar, script and dialogue and story, as we talked out in plot earlier. So I will not begrudgingly give him a 1, but give him a solid enough 1 because any credit that I'm going to give this film is going to go here.
But how is he as a protagonist in the narrative? Like I'm saying,
fine,
it's
like-
I mean,
All right, hold on. I can answer
Okay,
that.
thank you, Steve.
Go ahead, buddy.
Anytime that this movie even comes close to approaching emotionality, it's because of him, and that is the best thing I can say for him. I'm going to give protagonist
I do like
1
that.
as well.
Yeah.
Rami Malek does a good job portraying. He certainly does a good job looking like him, and I think he does a good job portraying him later in the movie more than earlier. I think early on it feels a little
Mick
weird. Maybe Mick Jaggerish even. But
It feels
no,
a little off, we'll say.
It just feels
Regardless,
a little like the first couple scenes. I don't know. I didn't fully believe
sell
him.
me on it
Yeah,
early on. I agree with that
but
too.
I think it does a better job later on of selling him as Freddie Mercury, and there's a lot of scenes that are like trying to make you feel emotional about what's going on, and it is just falls way short. But the ones that are somewhat close to like decent emotional scenes are because of Rami and not anybody else. So if I'm going to give anybody a 1 in terms of characters, I'm going to give him 1.
Yeah, that's pretty much encapsulates what my thoughts on it as well.
All right, I think I'll put all my anything I can give to supporting probably into Remy's.
Fair enough. I'm saying,
I mean, and the fact that, and in fact, given the fact that Freddie Mercury was clearly the protagonist in this film, they didn't screw that up. He was clearly the protagonist.
Yeah.
So yeah, okay, it got a 1 on the most basic
yeah.
level. A good performance plus the basic necessities gives it a 1.
At its base, it is a film about Freddie Mercury.
Yeah.
And no one can take it.
Can't argue with that, I guess we'll say. But no, all the goodwill I think will go to his performance and him him portraying Freddie. So
Okay, and Devo, would you tell us about the secondary characters, please?
Yeah, I guess so. There was the band.
Brian May,
Uh,
Roger. I mean, Chris, you know all the names of the Queen
I
members.
can't think of any of their
all their
names.
names.
They all just faded from your mind while watching this film.
I mean, they were fine, I guess. His fiance,
Mary.
Mary.
Murray.
His later life partner,
Other lover.
Jim.
Jim.
His parents.
Miami.
Miami was in this.
I mean, yeah, all the record execs and AR people.
The cats.
Mike Myers.
Whatever his original name was, Beach, Mike Myers. There's nobody that really stuck out to me in terms of like being a great supporting character.
100,000 people in Live Aid.
That didn't stick out to me. No.
Bob
but,
Geldof.
Fuck you. All right,
Yeah.
go on, Steve.
But I don't know. I'm probably gonna give this a 0. Like none of them were great. I would like to give it a 1, but nobody's really sticking out to me. Like,
This is I agree with you. I'm giving it a 0. Mainly out of spite. Because if I liked this movie more, I would probably reward some actors with, but the movie itself just made me not want to see anything succeed. I have to say, though, the metaphysician band member, he was, again, I would give him a 1 if I were in a better...
I think that's Brian May, I'm pretty sure.
That's Brian May.
I would have given him a 1 if I was in a better mood. But this left me in a worse mood, so I'm not going to give him a 1.
I'm kind of angry for having to have seen this movie because of the Oscars. If we had watched it like outside of that, I'd probably give this a 1 too. Yeah. But I have to hold it in higher regard because it's an Oscar movie now, right?
Yeah.
No, I get that. Like that's completely, certainly valid. I think I'm going to give it a begrudging 1. And not for any very specific, but like it's tough because this one I could almost be on the fence about. But I do think that the bandmates were fine enough, like just enough over the edge. And again, like and Mary and like this his friends and family and bandmates, but like lumping them all together, I think they just all collectively limp over the line for a 1. But I'm not picking out one specific either for sure. Gotti.
Here's the thing. Now, one thing I did like is that they went over and above to show that Queen wasn't just about Freddie Mercury. That every other band members wrote songs. They made a contribution. And I was actually, that's again new information to me, really. And I impressed about it. But a lot of like Mary, for instance, her entire existence in this film was to
get him pants.
What?
To get him pants.
Yeah, I mean, like I don't understand why, aside from historical accuracy, perhaps in his darkest moments. But again, I didn't buy a lot of these plot points from earlier, and so characters who are there strictly to further the plot, a plot that doesn't work at all makes me think that it fails overall.
That's a really good point because now it's making me question it. Because again, like I said, I was going to give him like just enough, like sure. You get a jerk off 1, like again, right there over the line, like half zombie body crawling over like for a 1, but like having phrased it like you just phrased it, it's closer now. So anybody else have any?
I was just gonna say I was on the fence after listening to what you're saying, Scott. When I was thinking, but when Ian pointed out that the band members, that it wasn't just Freddie Mercury, that the band members contributed, and the fact that when they were in the studio were the things I liked best about the movie, I now have to give it a 1 because the interaction with the band members in the studio, I really would like to have learned a little more about them personally, but it was,
interesting, at least for that
it was supposed to be Freddie Mercury's story, and I say supposed to because I don't think they really did him justice. But it really, the scenes when they're in the studio was when I felt that the supporting characters were, like the band members were actually characters and not plot devices. Like Mary and his family and a lot of everybody seemed to be like plot devices, like strategically put in, whether or not historical accuracy aside, the way they were put into this film when they appeared narratively, they were plot devices. But the most natural scenes, I thought, the scenes that I gave the biggest shits about, were the things in the studio and the interaction with the band. So I now have to give it a 1.
That was well said, and you might have convinced me over to a 1 for that.
Yeah, not bad.
Not that's going to change my atrocious score for this film, but
no, but it's funny because
that's why I asked, because like again, this is one I was more on the fence about because I could see it going either way. And yeah, like you guys both made pretty good arguments, but if you're saying that Chris might have convinced you at that point, even though you made a good argument
because I did enjoy
just before
the studio sections. There were good like jokes in those scenes, and
I think I'll go with my instinct, and in light of what you guys, what you just said, that again, just enough, just the softest of all 1s, but still a 1 for secondary at the end of the day, like collectively, no, but not singling out one character over another.
All right. I'm gonna stick with a 0. I think.
Oh, yeah, that's fine too.
Good arguments.
Yeah.
Very nice. And Scott,
Yes, sir.
dialogue, sir.
So, looking at a 0 off the bat, my friends, and like I said, I'll open up. I don't have much to say. It was flat for a lot of it. Like, it goes back to, like I said, about it was boring. Like there were a couple of, yes, here and there were some good exchanges, mostly from Raimi as Freddy, for sure. But not always. Like, a couple of other interactions between his bandmates that we just mentioned, like even the AR guys and Mary, like blah, blah, blah. But for the most part, like, my eyes were literally glazing over as I was listening to the dialogue that they were saying to each other for, like, I don't know, 70 to 80% of the film. So that's my gut reaction, and that's my opening argument, salvo for 0, but I will let you guys speak about it.
I will see your 0 and raise you a further 0.
Okay.
With the Mike Myers reference to Wayne's World.
Oh, yeah.
Which was the worst thing
Oh my god.
It's super
in
funny
the
you say
world.
that. We thought, we pointed out, and like, I literally, like, we just saw this film like an hour or two ago, and I literally forgot about that until you pointed it out now.
And aren't you glad? No, you shouldn't be glad
No,
that I pointed it out. It was
you're
just awful.
Now it's kind of grating that you had brought it back up. Yeah.
I was going to say, in these things, especially with movies and so forth, dialogue is the easiest thing to get a 1 from. All you have to do is make it naturalistic and not fuck it up. And
it's not that it wasn't
no,
that,
but
right?
it was bland.
Yes.
You were absolutely right with bland. And for every good line, you had something that was ridiculously face-palming. And then you had the Mike Myers thing, which I also forgot about, which, like, when you said that, I'm like, oh, God
No,
damn
you're
it.
right. That's
I mean,
a good call, E.
whatever good was in the dialogue was wiped out by that thing. So it's getting a
that's
big goose
microcosm 0 for giving it a 0, I think.
This script
Good
had a couple
zero.
chuckles in it, but nothing great. It wasn't really funny. It wasn't really dramatic or tense. It was just
Even when it tried to be, it
there.
still fell flat,
Yeah,
I think.
I don't know. It wasn't good in terms of dialogue, and for that, I give you a 0.
Yeah. Bland.
I guess for whatever good is in there, I gave the points to supporting. The interactions between some of the characters.
Yeah, I feel
And I just forgot to mention this. I'm going to say it. Littlefinger was in this, and I thought he was putting on a voice for Littlefinger.
No, he might as well be.
No, he just has
dude.
that. He can't play any trustworthy character ever.
I sound shady as hell when I'm offering you an A&R deal. You're like, yeah, you're right. That's really funny. We noticed that. We all pointed it out, and like, can't help it. So that's a good point.
So yeah, Littlefinger's voice 0 as well.
Yeah, I'm giving that like a 0, and like a good call. E, like I like how you built that upon like why I was going to do that originally as well.
Okay, so to me it's style, and I've been kind of waiting to
unload, sir.
Unload that they had the first Madison Square Garden show, and as Ian pointed out, precast was that they basically saved their pennies for the Live Aid, and it showed because the Madison Square Garden show was the worst shot thing I've ever fucking seen with regard to a musical number in my life. I mean, first of all, it looked cheap. You could tell we were on a set. I mean, this thing was like an ABC after school special, like, you know, I mean, it was, I mean, you could tell the scale right away.
So you're having a concert.
Off. Yeah. And it was really, really bad. I mean, this was like this. I've seen music videos that were shot in studios that were better than this. This was an atrocious scene. And for that, it would get a 0. But quite frankly, the rest of it was highly unimpressive too. Scott?
I will say one word to describe the style to me: unimpressive.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing special about it. It looks, if not bland, it's just, again, eyes glazing over. It could be anything. Anybody could have shot this. Like, forget about Brian Johnson. Because it sort of played by numbers itself, as we mentioned, it shoots itself even. And you're right, it was cheap looking as hell, specifically for that scene, for sure. And other scenes were like that. So, like, while it's not like terrible cinematography, it's just unengaging as hell. So
okay, we are told throughout this work that Freddie Mercury is a unique and interesting person. I believe that. He seems to be, from everything I know about him. So why the hell did you make a genre film as formulaic
As rote as you could ever have it.
and as just
Good call.
the shot. You do nothing to honor this man's creativity, and
And
I
his
guess
persona.
unless your argument is that we want to make the blandest film so that the music can come through, so you can appreciate the music he did. No,
That's a terrible mindset.
But you couldn't even appreciate him as a showman, except for the Live Aid thing. A lot of the live things were shot in a montage, and a really awful-looking montage at that.
Yeah, good call as well.
That's really interesting that you say that, because I think that the best part of this movie was like the music scenes, and
in terms of
even
style.
those weren't that great. Like Live Aid at the end was pretty good.
because it's the last thing. They're leaving you with the spectacle at the end, so you come out
That you all,
thinking,
everybody remembers
oh,
how great that show was.
endorphins. It's great.
You
Yeah,
know what? You know what
exactly.
really sucked is I would find myself like enjoying like one of their studio sessions, and then they would cut that short and go to like a live show,
Yes.
like
Yep.
straight out of it. And I was like, no, fucking show what happens in the studio. Show them fucking get into a
And
fight
then
or
they-
something.
Yeah, you're
Like,
right, Steve-O.
Show something
You're
about
right.
like what's going on with this band.
They even
It's-
fucked
That's
that up.
true.
Yeah.
They would go from studio to show back to Freddie Mercury's
yeah,
house.
and it's like, what the fuck just happened? Just fucking let this movie
Yeah,
breathe.
it's
more VH1, less Lifetime.
Yeah, it's too disjointed and
Yeah.
it's too choppy, and I cannot give it credit.
I was gonna try and give Style a 1 going into this question. I was like, you know what?
I don't
Maybe
think
I'll
you
give it a
can
1
salvage
for
it,
the
man.
for the music, but like they just continually made
Even-
it less impressive than it should have been, and that's I can't fucking forgive that.
I agree.
It's a
Like,
service to the man.
yeah, exactly. The songs themselves get buried under, like, again, the avalanche of blandness that the style is comprised of. So that's how best I can say it, and
Look,
I'm giving it a fucking
in
zero.
my estimation, Queen made a ton of amazing music, and you get to hear a lot of it in this
Yep.
movie. If there's anything that's
Salvageable.
redeeming in
Yeah,
this, it's
yeah.
that.
Listen to
But,
their greatest hits.
Yeah,
You'll
go-
enjoy it more.
Go on YouTube and look
Yeah.
at them
Much
on
preferable-
Saturday Night Live.
much
Yeah.
preferable, and probably like half the length of this movie. Just go get an album or two of theirs
Exactly.
and go listen
Yeah,
to that.
exactly. Yeah, so 0 for me.
Yeah, and the funny thing was that I liked when Freddie Mercury first saw the guys play in the pub better than any of the Queen performances. That's how bad these
Sure.
concerts were shot.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I agree. Yeah.
Market
Style,
zero.
flat. Market zero.
Market zero.
So Ian,
No,
Nice.
No.
this is
The question is,
the most
do you recommend it?
offensive movie I've seen in a long time. A couple of reasons. One, if Beale Street Could Talk deserved to be in the Oscars, and for somehow I think this is the one that bumped it out. And this would be okay at best if I had seen it without the expectations of
Mm.
it was the honorifics it has received.
Yeah.
But based on what it is, it's offensive to the art of movie making.
I really like that. Yeah.
I never want to hear about this movie again.
I almost certainly wholeheartedly second that. So it's offensively bland to me, and like that's like one of the most damning things. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again whenever it comes up. I'd rather you be a bad movie than be fucking bland. And this movie is like the blandest of the blandest. You're right, and especially because now it's in the Oscar talks is the only reason we're fucking doing it at this point, anyways. So I have to be offended about that angle for sure. And I'm absolutely never going to see it again. If people ask like, "Hey, I haven't seen Bohemian Rhapsody yet. Should I go see it?" I'm like, "No, fuck it, skip it. See anything else. See a whole bunch of other shit. See Beale Street, as you just said, other crap too, other movies. That is, I would say just
Listen
do
to the
not.
songs because you enjoy the songs more
Yeah.
with a
Yeah.
better like
remember all
HD
those Queen songs
quality.
you like. Let's go fucking look up a YouTube playlist and
Go
Yeah,
watch,
I was gonna
go
say,
watch Queen's
them on
Live Aid fucking set.
I was gonna
on
say they're
YouTube.
on Live Aid on
Yeah.
YouTube.
exactly. So yeah, that's all I can say. 0 for recommendation for me.
I can recommend and will when I share this on Facebook a bunch of other music movies you should see. And no, this I agree. This one is bland. It's bland and offensive. I highly recommend.
Somehow at the same time, it seems. Yeah.
Here's the thing: A Star Is Born came out, which is about the music industry
Yeah.
this year as well. at least they were trying to say
Yes.
something with that.
But The Star is Born had a lot of restraint to it too.
Yeah, and that is so much better of a movie, even if that wasn't my favorite movie of the year, about the music industry,
Sure.
and had more. I'm sorry, I'm getting worked up now. So I'm gonna.
Oh no, but you're definitely giving you 0, and I'm backing you up, man. I agree.
Completely agree. It's going to be a 0. I am not. I don't know. There's no reason to watch this movie. That's it.
See, I think I think big award shows are full of shit anyway, and the Academy Award just never.
And we'll certainly
ceases-
have more to say about that later on.
Never ceases to amaze me how awful they are. But in all fairness, that I don't think this thing would have gotten any different score from me if
Regardless of it,
regardless. I'm just saying that because you and Ian were putting it in context of the Academy Awards, is that even away from that, I mean, yeah, I'm sure, because I'm definitely seeing Beale Street. I'm sure when I see it, I'm probably going to...
definitely seen it?
No, I'm definitely going to.
Oh, okay.
This weekend. And I have a feeling that I'm getting angry because it's just like, I was looking forward to seeing Beale Street, and I saw this, and now I'm like, I want to see Beale Street not out of spite, but because I want something. I want to see Beale Street even more now. That's what I'm saying.
Okay. Regardless, though, it seems like none of us are recommending.
Fuck no.
It's in the Oscars in my heart, Beale Street.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a movie shit.
Yeah, I'm gonna literally forget about this movie in like 4 days or less,
Yeah.
I don't know.
and I want my 2 hours back.
Well, yeah, I mean, like, it is an offensive movie on many, many levels.
Yes, for
I
sure.
agree with you. I'm getting more angry about this too.
See, I'm just getting depressed. I could have been doing anything else than watching this movie, but we had to because of that. So
But here we are.
yeah, it's an extra, a little extra, like as Ian said, an extra spiteful 0, really.
Yeah, this is.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
So,
I hate the Academy Awards, and we had to watch this because of the goddamn Academy Awards.
Mhm.
Fuck you.
and we'll have more words to say about that. But where does that leave us? I believe that's the. Is that everything?
Yeah, I think that's everything. And Scott, me, and Ian gave it a 3. And
I was trying to give this a higher score than Ian, at least. It
Wrong.
didn't work out for me.
Yeah, Steve was like, I'm probably going to give this a 4.
Try again. And did he?
No.
I did not know.
No. So Steve-O gave it a 2.
Wow. Nice.
Yeah, and which leaves us with a shit. No, I'm doing the math wrong.
2.75.
2.75.
Damn. Yeah. I mean, like, maybe it shouldn't be that low, but it should be low.
No, it should be that.
No,
low.
it should be
lower than that.
I was gonna say I'm kind of disappointed.
Chris, I'm actually angry that you convinced me to bump it up for that one.
No,
for supporting.
actually, it's your fault because you convinced me, and I bounced it back to you, bud.
You can each blame each other and break up the band.
All right, here.
But
Don't worry, you'll come back together because
Just
we're a
don't-
family.
Yeah, we're family, and
we're gonna play podcast aid.
just don't here. Just don't see this movie.
yeah. I have no other things
We're
to say.
not only are we not recommending it, I'm actively telling you, do not see this film.
I'm going to recommend this movie to all the people that I hate.
Yeah, I like that. Troll them all with this movie.
Well, this made a ton of money, so it's one of those things that like maybe popular amongst idiots. So the people you hate might enjoy it.
This movie made a ton of money, and yet we're gonna go with our day jobs on Monday.
I'm waiting.
Sure.
I'm waiting for people who really loved it to come back and rip on us. But I'm ready. I'm ready for it.
I stand by my score, and I think we all stand by our scores.
calling you an idiot.
Yeah.
That's fine too.
Well, does anybody have anything else to say?
Luckily, we don't have any listeners
Let's
to
wrap it up.
lose.
Bohemian Rhapsody up.
I've been here with Chris Morgan.
Oh God.
I'm Chris Morgan. I've been here with Jonathan Ian Manzer,
Let's go.
Stephen Hermosi on guitar,
Adieu.
and Scott on drums.
I thank you all. Good night.
Editing and engineering by Christopher Morgan. Music by Christopher Morgan. Check us out on YouTube and iTunes for the shows, and on Facebook and Twitter for updates. Or Mott's?